think it's important to share a close relationship with one's grandparents. After all, our grandparents are part of our family, and they are one whom we can communicate with when we are stressed and when we face difficulties. And it is only right for us to respect and love our grandparents. I will always, whenever it's the June holidays and the December holidays, I will always visit my grandparents in Shandong, Yantai in China, and then since Yantai is beside the sea, they will always prepare seafood delicacies for me to welcome me to visit them. I especially enjoy my grandmother's wonderful cooking, of wonderful fish preparing and cooking culinary skills. It is very wonderful, and her fish is the spices that she uses always to the right amount, to perfection, and it is one of the best that I have ever eaten. I remember that last year when I went to visit them, I liked the fish so much that I ate one myself. And then my grandmother my grandmother, when she was young, was not that competent in learning. She always lazed about at home and never really studied hard, so she never did well in any of her examinations. So when she grew up, she faced many difficulties, and life was not as good. Because of this, she wanted to. So when she had my father, she wanted to teach him to not repeat her mistakes of not studying, of lazing about and not studying. She wanted my father to become a competitor, to become a very good scholar, which she succeeded in nurturing. So whenever my father did well in the examination, she will always buy toys for him, and sometimes even examination papers. Because back then, getting examinations and practice papers weren't as easy as it is now. You have to spend a lot of money to just buy one set of them. She really to encourage my father and help him learn better, she bought a lot of examination papers which burnt the hole in her pocket. My father also really appreciated this. He will always, as he know that her mother, which is my grandmother, wants him to do well, and he would always go home and study carefully and do the examination papers carefully, reflect on his mistakes. And then if my father didn't do well for examinations, my grandmother would beat him along with my grandfather. This is not because that they are. This is first thing is because that they are quite upset, and because they know that the main reason that my father don't do well is that he is always lazing about at home, not studying carefully for the exam, not studying and preparing well for the examination. So she will always beat him to let him learn in a hard way to study good and study hard. My grandmother way of teaching really changed my father's life. She let him learn in a hard way, and this made him become more successful become more successful than her these days. For that, because my father respected my grandmother, he will always listen to her and learn and reflect on his mistakes, allowing him to become in a good position these days. And then he will always teach these life lessons to me. For example, he said that if a person works hard for the first 20 years, he can enjoy the next six years. But if a person lays about in the first 20 years of his or her life, he or her will have to work hard and cannot enjoy his or her next 60 years. My grandmother, sometimes when she has the time, will teach me how to cook. For example, she taught me how to prepare one of the most easy dishes in her point of view, the egg fried rice. She would always be my side when I tried to prepare it, and when I faced difficulties, she would never hesitate to lend a helping hand. She did this, when I asked her why she did this, she told me that she wanted me so that when I'm in university, I can prepare my own food and then not depend on someone else or outside food to sustain myself. For that, she thinks that outside food is not as healthy and clean as her food that she teaches me and she herself prepares. That in university my body can be more healthy because of the food that I eat. And whenever she talks about how my cutlery skills is so good to her neighbor, she would always there will always be a sparkle of joy in her eyes, of pride, because she was so proud of me. Because she lives in a village, the living conditions were not as good when she and my grandfather was when they were young. For example, their living conditions were very poor, and they did not have a lot of money, and there was not much clean water, and then there was not much food, and sometimes they rarely even ate rice to save it up for special occasions, for example, for Lunar New Year and Chinese New Year. Because of this, my grandfather would always share life stories of his past. For example, he would always, and then there are always values that I can learn from stories he has shared. For example, he said to me a story about his past and the living conditions back then with the lack of technology, advancement in technology. It was hard to make a living, and they had to save up a lot to allow my father to go to school. He would always tell me to be grateful for my living conditions and the advancement in technology, the availability of clean water and easy access for daily necessities like food. He will always tell me to be grateful about this, and he will always tell me, because he thinks that the life that I am living now is much better. The conditions are much better than his. So he believes that we should always be grateful for my father for providing me with this kind of condition. So in conclusion, I think that we should maintain a close relationship with our grandparents, and we should always be thankful for the my I will always be thankful to them for nurturing my father into a very good scholar and allowing him to lay the path for me to continue to persevere and allow me to strive to do well in PSLE.